As you can see, the UK is in the middle of a heat wave. Everything is bloody dead. We need rain. I'm the baldbookgeek, and I was watching a now deleted video by Blackery. She is a YouTuber slash musician, occasional writer. She wrote a book, and it was called Why My Book Flopped. And I read Feel Good 101. I reviewed it on this channel. I don't know if that video is still public, but so let's go into this. And it opened an interesting debate, not necessarily about her book, but actually about the publishing industry. So her book came out, and it did enter the bestseller list, and then it died. A very fast, sudden death. Now what happened was her book got issued early, and what I will say is that unless you're a big writer, you're not going to get privileges like your book's going to come out exactly on that day. Unless you're J.K. Rowling or alike, it just doesn't happen. And she saw that, and it was a very interesting video. And Emma, if you're watching this, I thought it was a fascinating video. But she opened a debate with publishing and companies and how they work. As a writer, I see this stuff happening a lot. I know people that conventionally published, indie published, whatever, but you see this happening a lot. No writer development, almost no budget for a book. For example, Brooklyn Beckham, who is he's studying to be a photographer, did a photography book, a £50 photography book. Tanked horribly, and as a photographer myself, it was quite studenty. It was like a student portfolio rather than an actual photography book. But here lies the problem. Publishers are willing to throw money at safe bets. For Emma's publisher, her book was meant to be a safe bet. An established brand, a YouTuber, someone that's relatively well known and has a large teenage following. We see it with people like Kim Kardashian. Her selfies book, but that was a bestseller. And things that I detest, like the Pointless blog did a Pointless book, which was my Reckless Journal ripoff. But those books are already available. Brooklyn Beckham's book tanked and is no longer available. No one was interested, no one bought it. You end up with publishers not looking after new writers. There's different lists, A, B, C and D, and depending on where you fall on publishing list depends on where your book will end up, and depends on how much promo it will get. Publishers have a limited budget for publishing, and we see it a lot. We see a lot of fantastic books not get the recognition they deserve, or books come out that just don't. There are countless novels that I've read that no one will hear about or know. You have to develop talent, you have to look after it. If publishers are only going to take safe bets, you wind up thinking, who is going to be the next J.K. Rowling, or the next Philip Pullman, or Sarah J. Maas? The downside is she rode the YA craze as well. And that's another thing, if you're not writing to the latest fads. I remember when dystopia YA was everywhere. Every book aimed at young people was a dystopian. The Hunger Games is a lot to answer for, by the way. I remember being much younger in the Twilight fad, and books like The Tiger's Curse. Oh dear God, The Tiger's Curse. They were all safe bets. They appealed to that audience. Crime publishers do the same thing as well. Crime publishers know what their audience wants. They know what their readers want. And sadly, these safe bets are leading to some horrendous books. You have to develop young talent. You can't just put a book out and not promo it, not put it on a shelf. Admittedly, Emma Blackery made some mistakes. I mean, she shouldn't have bit the hand that fed her. You know, you don't slag off a certain bookstore chain. There is only one bookstore chain in the UK, so we all know what that is. You don't slag them off, and you don't piss people off. You may not like what they're doing, but you have to get on with it. You know, I have my own book coming out. I have very little say over certain aspects of it, and that's fine. They know what they're doing. But if you're... I wouldn't go on Twitter and slag it off because it came out a day early. I'd embrace it and go, well, actually, if you're lucky, there might be a few copies here or there or wherever. I completely understand why publishers want to take safe bets, why they work and go, well, this might not sell, but this will. But lately that has backfired. Brooklyn Beckham, Emma Blackery, to name but two. Hollywood films have become safe, be it comic book movies and cinematic universes, reboots or remakes, it always ends up being the same. There's no new ideas. Publishing and books, there's hundreds of thousands of new ideas, but we may not never get to read them. Emma Blackery's video, and she shouldn't have deleted it, by the way. I know it kind of backfired on her, but she shouldn't have deleted it. I mean, her book was technically a safe bet, but it did suffer from terrible marketing. It suffered from being marketed as a self-help book. When I read it, it read more like a biography with just a positive message. And that's maybe what the book should have been. A biography with a positive message rather than a self-help book. It worries me that in publishing we're going to see what Hollywood are doing. Publishers taking these safe bets. Books that would be considered controversial. Books that would be considered a new idea or something in that frame won't get published. Or end up being such a small release no one will ever read it, like a brilliant indie film. Or it feels like we are now at a point that we have to make it clear what books we want. And it also worries me that kids are being force-fed garbage. I'm waiting for a certain infamous beauty guru on YouTube to write a book. And then we obviously had Zenith, which was terrible. Zenith was a bad book. But it's getting a sequel because it made money. It's not getting a sequel because it was good or a great piece of literature. It's getting a sequel because it made a lot of money. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But it says a lot. It says a lot. Be you a vlogger, a gamer, a booktuber, whatever you do, you have to be careful. Because the celebrities as well, be them Kim K or God knows who else, but you know, force-feeding kids crap, from terrible advent calendars to selfie books that you can view for free on Instagram, to the ghost-written celebrity biography tell-all cash-in. You end up realising we shouldn't be force-feeding an audience crap. We shouldn't at all. We should be exposing them to great literature or exposing them to amazing pieces of work. Everyone has a book in them. Everyone has a story to tell, be it their own or someone else's or imaginary thing. Everyone has it. And it's just a shame that sometimes I think the publishing industry needs a kick up the bum. I think most industries need a kick up the bum. And a lot of YouTubers need a kick up the bum. Including myself sometimes, because my ego just goes on full. How do we change it? And we have that power. As an audience, we have this power. I decided to go on to Guru Gossip and have a nose, because that website's quite eye-opening. Wanted to cringe. And you know what's ironic? All the people using it, bitching and moaning, eat this stuff up. All these kids that use that site, that toxic mess of a website, are eating this celebrity-endorsed bullshit up. BookTube forum filled with people who bitch and moan, but they love it. You know you love me. XOXO.